Da-na-na-na-na-na-na. What's going on, everybody? We are doing a Zudes reviews. It's been a minute here. We got Taba in here. How you doing, bro?
I'm doing pretty good.
Good, man. Yeah, we're talking about X-Men 97, bro. It's about time we got back to reviewing stuff. It's been a minute, bro. We got to get on our dorky shit, on our nerdy shit, bro. Y'all see me, bro. I'm out here, bro. I'm in the full get-up, bro. I don't give a fuck, bro.
Yeah, it was long overdue, and I would not take no for an answer. I texted Eli. I was like, yo, we got to make this happen, you know?
Yeah.
The show's been phenomenal. We're going to get into that, but I had to make sure that we reviewed this show in particular. So
Yeah, in particular, man, because, I mean, of course, we're 90s kids, so this is really, it's a little bit before our time. It came out in 92 was when it first started, but in general, I mean, yeah, I grew up with this show. This was my introduction to the X-Men.
Yep.
You know, these are the versions of the characters I think that are, to be honest, the definitive versions of the characters in
Absolutely.
a ton of ways, but you know, especially even as I've gone on and got older and read more comics myself, you know, I definitely, the more and more I feel like the animated series, the original, is the X-Men. Like, that's what I think of. That's what you should think of, to be honest, too, you know?
That's a fact. You know, like, I feel like, other than the comics itself, the best, undeniable, I don't care what you think, the correct answer is the best X-Men content that we've ever gotten was the 90s animated series, and because of how great they are doing so far, as long as they keep it up, X-Men 97 will be the best X-Men content aside from the comics that we've gotten. You know, Fox movies are great, you know, Hugh Jackman and all that, cool, but this is like pure X-Men. So
yeah, I definitely agree. I love how oh man, I want to just gush about the original series a little more too, because honestly too, more comics need to be made into cartoons. Like, it works so well because they're literally just taking it right off it's like what they do with manga and anime. You know, they just take it literally right off the page, throw it on the screen. Not almost, I mean, pretty much as is. You know, they add some stuff, but you know, it's pretty much a 1-to-1 translation. That's what made the original series so fucking good.
Yeah, and I'm glad that they started to realize that, like, you know, going into like Iron Man and, like, you know, the current MCU stuff, you know, up until like Infinity War, is like, you know, we don't have to, like, you know, make it all modernized and make everyone wear this, like, hot, sweaty black spandex and all that. Like, we could just literally, like, put them in this bright red and yellow suits and all that, and let's go. We're going to do this because, you know, it's a formula that works. You don't have to, you know, you don't have to do anything to the sausage. The sausage just heat it up, and it's there, and it's going to be a classic, timeless, you know, meal every time, you know?
Well, and you know what I think is also proving that, too, right now is Invincible.
Yeah, absolutely.
Invincible Season 2 has been really good, too.
Yeah.
And I think both of those are perfect examples as to why you just need more fucking, you know, comics need to be made into cartoons. Like, it's the perfect medium for them. Yeah. And you can really actually explore a lot of the stuff that's in the comics that will never translate to live action, you know?
Absolutely.
So, yeah, that being said, man, I like it. You know, just getting it out of the way, I really like it. I really like X-Men 97. The online discourse about it has been pretty stupid, like any show, like any pop culture thing these days.
Just social media nowadays, you know how it is. People are gonna, you know, just find something to, you know, to say. They want to pick a side. They want that clash. They want that, you know, confrontation. That's just the nature of humans.
Yeah,
you know?
man. I mean, there's been the whole, you know, they're like, X-Men's, well, it's been, you know, they're like, they made it woke now, and they're going to make it woke now. And then, you know, you get all the people that are like, it's been woke. And it's like, but no, X-Men, it always has been like a very universal kind of thing. It's a lot like, it's almost like Star Wars or something, where it's like a universal kind of conflict where it's like, okay, it's systematic oppression. Okay.
Right.
You know, government getting involved with, you know, people being oppressed. It's like that can be applied to so many people. That can apply to
however you need to connect it, you know, but
to any, and that's what makes it so universal, and that's why so many people love it, you know, because it's a struggle that anybody can empathize with, anybody can be, you know, see themselves in. That's why the X-Men themselves are also diverse too, you know, so it's like, I don't know, you know, where a lot of the you know, but at the same time, on the other side of the coin, where they're like, oh, they made it woke now, but at the same time, they're like, it's always been woke. It's like, it never beats you over the head with it, though, you know what I mean? Something I was going to even say about X-Men in general that I was really thinking about when I was watching the show is that X-Men is super ahead of its time, and it's kind of doing things that like The Boys and Invincible are doing now, where it's like exploring a lot of the real world implications of what people having superpowers and people what it means for humanity on a philosophical level, what it means on a legal level, how would the government react, how would people react, culturally react. And it's a trip because again, you got like The Boys, they're kind of playing with that idea now too. And again, Invincible too. And these are picking up, and it's like X-Men 97 is kind of a good time for it to come back around because it's kind of standing toe to toe with, like I said, I keep on saying Invincible, but that's the other main show that I'm watching right now. It's the other main superhero animated series.
No, absolutely. I feel like that's one thing I really like about The Boys in particular is how much thought they put into that aspect of it that you just talked about. Because I feel like if superheroes really existed, if superpowers really existed, I think life would look very similar to The Boys. Of course, The Boys is very raunchy and out there and. But there's certain elements of that that's going to be real. I think they definitely turn it up to 11, on the show for entertainment value. But I think that if we really had mutants on the Earth and metahumans and Avengers and Nordic gods out here, we would be responding very similarly to how the people in the Boys respond. Sure.
Well, something about excuse the background noise too. By the way, we got a karaoke night going on at City Sound. Lots of events going on around here. So if there's any chatter, that's just because we're in a busy studio, man. We're making stuff happen.
Making moves.
But what I was gonna say too, though, is something that I feel like the animated series does very well, and especially in '97, now the animation's a lot better. Is definitely conveying the power of mutants, where it's like mutants are very, very powerful, and they're even just as, if not more powerful than most of the other Marvel heroes. They're on some very. The idea of them being a threat to humanity is even more fleshed out because it's like it feels more real when you really translate how powerful they're supposed to be in the comics, and it's people really are afraid of like a mutant losing control of their powers and causing all this destruction and havoc. And again too, you get things like Civil War, Marvel Civil War. That's basically part of what is the catalyst for in the comics for the whole story arc. Is superheroes being irresponsible with their powers and stuff, and
requiring their registration and act and all that kind of stuff.
So dude, X-Men are goated. Like they're so goated. I'm glad to see them back in something that's actually good. Because for a long time they were a fucking joke. They were the punching bag.
And unfortunately, the reason why it was like that, it was only because of licensing and money. In the '90s, Marvel went bankrupt and they had to sell a bunch of their IP just to stay afloat. They didn't want to, obviously go under, and then we lose all these amazing heroes. So they had to start selling shit, and they sold X-Men to Fox. They sold Spider-Man to Sony. They sold some other things, some other places.
Hulk to Universal.
Yep. Yeah. And so, it was all about just getting that back. And it took a long time for them to get X-Men back. And so X-Men got to be a little crappy, for about a decade, a little bit more than a decade, actually. Unfortunately, so.
Yeah. I'll say, too, again, I'm very impressed with what they're doing with 97 so far because it's so easy for it to just be... nostalgia bait. I even put that on the title. I'm like, is it woke nostalgia bait? I'm trying to get them clicks. But it very easily could have been. And, I'm not going to... I felt like when I watched the beginning, I think the very first episode, it is just the intro from the original series. And I think the second and third, they change it because
I've been watching, just different things, how they break it down. They actually did kind of tweak... Even the first one is a little bit... It's, very similar. But, I think the order of the characters is a little bit different. And, of course, they gave Storm the Mohawk and... there's certain elements. They definitely revamped it and freshened it up a little bit.
Right,
really cool. And I like that every single episode is going to be different. So the intro, it's going to be different every time. At first, it started with Cyclops because he's the leader now.
Right.
Originally, it was Professor X that started out, but he's quote unquote dead right now. So they had Cyclops started off in the first episode, and the second one, Magneto. We'll get into the episode.
Yeah, we're gonna get into heavy spoilers soon. Here, we'll let you know when that's happening. We're just gonna talk vaguely about it for a little bit. But
then Magneto was first in the second episode, right? So you kind of see every episode is they're tailoring it to what's actually happening in the episode. Which I think is really cool.
Which is pretty cool. yeah, I'm trying to think of what else I could say before we really get to spoiler territory.
Yeah. Well, I just want to say, X-Men is my gateway to like all of this shit. Like, you know, I've always said I have a big three. I got X-Men, I got Star Wars, I got Lord of the Rings. It's like my favorite of the fantasy nerd shit. And I would say X-Men is the first one. I watched it when I was a kid, a toddler. You know, couldn't even, you know, still wearing diapers, watching X-Men every day. You know what I'm saying? And that's what got me into comic books. That's what got me caring about anything. Like, you know, I wanted to know about what's going on in the world of the X-Men, beyond the X-Men. And that's what kind of made me kind of like branch out and like check out all these other things. But like, if it wasn't for X-Men, I probably would have been like more so gravitating towards like, you know, just sports, you know. And I love sports, of course, but like the reason why I am is because of X-Men, you know. And I think that it's like, if I could encapsulate what X-Men means to me in one word, it's diversity. It's allowing any person from any walk of life to kind of feel like they have an identity within it, because the X-Men are so different. It's so obviously paralleling a marginalized group, discriminated against group. And so just being, you know, a young black kid that recognizes racism, recognizes, you know, microaggressions, and things of that nature, right? You kind of relate to certain characters and, you know, certain, you know, plot points and things like that in the stories. And, you know, I'm a historian of X-Men now. Like, I really like know the history of X-Men because it's just like, it means that much to me. And like, you know, it's just really cool. It's like, I was like, you know, when the MCU first happened and we got Tony Stark and all that kind of stuff, I was like, okay, when are they gonna buy the X-Men back? When are they gonna, like, this is what I've been thinking and excited for. And now we're getting Deadpool and, you know, Wolverine, and now we're getting the X-Men 97. So it's like, this is the happiest time that I have as like a Marvel fan, because we're getting everything I wanted as a kid.
You already know this. You already know this costume's coming back out for that one.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah, I'm gonna have to get my Cyclops drip going.
I know. Yeah, you gotta get your Cyclops drip growing, bro. We could fucking get it rocking. Yeah,
absolutely.
All right, cool. Well, I guess just real quick to me too. I guess real quick again. Yeah, X-Men. X-Men, specifically Cable. Cable's one of the first characters, comic book characters I ever knew of. It's funny that he's right up there with Spider-Man and Iron Man. And to me, like, Cable was up there because I had a Cable action figure. My brother, he would actually, oh my god, he would pick it up and throw it and hit it with a bat all the time, and he just totally destroyed my Cable action figure.
Yeah, he exploded that man.
And my mom got me another one off of eBay, the same one, and I was like, oh fuck yeah. No, I had a different one. I had a different Cable one, and then he did it to that one, and then my mom got me one to replace the first one, just the classic design. And he did it to that one too. So I was like,
you know, just classic big brother just being a
the fucking hater, dude. That being said, too, just real quick, Jim Lee, the fucking go. I know some of these designs are like pre-Jim Lee, but the way we know them,
his art is on my shirt right now. Yes.
Part of why I'm wearing this costume is we both have the same X-Men shirt, and we both wore it. So
it's funny. I told my friend, I was like, I bet you Eli's wearing the same shirt right now.
I literally said on the way here too. Yeah, so I was like, all right, we gotta do that. We gotta rock the Wolverine suit.
Yeah. Jim Lee's my favorite artist of all the time. By the way, I got to meet him in 2018 at Comic-Con, the only Comic-Con I've ever gone to. I need to go back. Hopefully I can make that happen next summer. But yeah, it was cool to just meet him. Like, that's like one of my heroes. So
that's sick, dude. Yeah, no, that's fucking tight. You brought me back that signed poster. That was cool. Yeah, man. But yeah, shout out to Jim Lee, because for real, the 90s stuff, those storylines, a lot of the stuff is from the 90s, you know, from the 90s run. Yeah. Which is, again, you know, X-Men held the team on their back for 90s. The 90s, it was X-Men and Spider-Man. Everybody else was eating shit, but X-Men and Spider-Man were rocking. And
comic books were the most popular in, you know, the time the comic books existed. X-Men was like the top of the top. It was the cream of the crop.
Yeah. Well, it's like everything else, like Marvel was like bankrupt. Yeah. They were having trouble, and those were the only ones that were running. Were X-Men and Spider-Man. We're keeping it going.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, let's get into the show now. Spoilers abound. We're gonna talk about every episode pretty much up to where we're at. New episode just dropped tonight. So yeah, just in the beginning, it was I'm kind of trying to think of what even happened in that first episode. I mean, it was really just kind of reintroduction to everything. Yep. You know, reintroduction of Magneto. You know, he's not a bad guy anymore. He's over there. He's helping them now. Yep. He's basically their leader, which is a lot like the Age of Apocalypse comics. So that was cool. Yep. I definitely got a lot of those vibes. I can tell they're pulling a lot of different ideas from different stuff, which is actually sick.
Yeah, that's really cool. We also got the young new. So remember in the original series, right? Jubilee was like the the first person character that you could kind of grab onto, and so they gave us Sunspot.
Yeah,
he's like he's that person, and like the cool thing is Jubilee's kind of like leading and teaching. Okay, this is what our life is now in the mansion. Like this is what it means to be a mutant and be a part of the X-Men. Like join our team. It's really fun.
And that's cool because he's kind of a newer character, isn't he? Like sort of.
Yeah, relatively new. He's definitely getting a lot of action in the current comics right now.
Right.
So.
Yeah. You know what? You're right. He's not new, but it's cool to see him get like a prominent role in that. Because again, Age of Apocalypse, he did a lot of cool shit in there, and so it's cool. It's a good reintroduction to the whole thing. I'm glad that Cyclops is getting to really, be a leader again. I know we're both big Cyclops fans, and he doesn't really get the respect he deserves. He's the Captain America of the X-Men.
Yeah.
He's rallying them all together.
They've been disrespecting my man for years. they finally did right. They're starting to do right by him. I hope they continue on to that track. I think they will. And just even in that first episode, kind of just seeing different ways that he can use his powers and
it's like a mix. He's doing like a mix of like martial arts and like the hand to hand and the optics and using the optics to superpower, supercharge.
Yeah. Hopefully we get a little bit more of him just being like a tactician, using his mind, like using his leader and influence. Because that's a big part of his character in the comics too. So
it's pretty cool to see that. I'm really digging that so far. The scene where they're falling out of the plane, of course, was that was definitely getting spread around everywhere because it was fucking sick, bro. Because again, they're finally showing like how strong he is. It's like his optic blast is like a Kamehameha. It's supposed to be that Dragon Ball Z level of OP. And the way he just caught himself off the ground.
Yeah, that was pretty cool. Just breaking his fall with his optics blast was really cool.
Yeah, that shit was sick.
And it's cool too because it's like in the Fox films. His blast was like a laser, like it was melting things, which is not what his powers are supposed to do in the comics. It's supposed to be concussive blast. It's supposed to be like you're getting hit.
It's like a physical.
Yeah, it's like you're getting punched like really hard. That's the whole thing with his optic blast. So yeah, his eyes are portals, and it's like energy and concussive energy that comes from like a different dimension or something like that. That's the way they. Originally put his power. So it's cool to be actually used the right way and like described the right way. So yeah,
it's cool to see them not be afraid of. We're gonna kind of jump a little bit forward. We're not gonna go like episode by episode, but just kind of the whole so far. Yeah. It's cool to see them not stray away from the weirder elements of things. Yeah. Like episode 3 was all about the Madeline Pryor, or that was it called, Madeline Pryor?
Yeah, Madeline Pryor, Inferno. Storyline a little bit,
Yeah, that shit's weird. But she's like, "Oh, you had a baby with the clone of me while I was in a coma, and now the evil clone is evil. Now the clone you had doesn't know what to. He's getting all existential, and the way they did all that was I was very surprised.
They handled it the best they could have because that was a very controversial thing, especially when it came out. Well, not when it came out. When it came out, I think it was probably more accepted in the 80s. But since we just think back so Cyclops, this guy that's supposed to be so cool and decent, he basically gets gets married, has a kid, and then just becomes a deadbeat fuckboy dad type of dude and just leaves.
Yeah.
What's going on with that? But I think they really handled it well, just understanding Chris Claremont had a vision for writing Scott out of the X-Men entirely and just having him have his happy ending with Madeline because Jean Grey, Phoenix Force, there's a lot of history that some of you guys may know, some of you guys I'm sure don't know, some of you guys do, but Phoenix, Jean Grey, she passes away in the comics or whatever, and she was supposed to stay dead. You know what I'm saying? So when they did that, they made the clone, and that's where all that kind of stuff comes from. So just being able to kind of tell the story of how they brought Jean back and all that kind of stuff, and not having to be so complicated as it was in the comics, was really cool. I just liked how it was a smart way to handle, a very complicated, what could have been very complicated to tell.
I was surprised they did it all in one episode too. Yeah. I would really thought that's one of the weirdest, most complicated storylines that the X-Men have.
Yeah.
And it's because then there's the whole thing where it's X-Man versus Cable,
right.
Where it's they're they're two versions of the same character, and so it's a trip because you get to see basically that's how Cable, right? That's what they're setting up. Is that, or I mean, Cable was already in the original series, but you get to see how Cable comes to be.
And you didn't know if they were actually gonna just say, oh, Jean Grey's the mom, just to make it easier.
Yeah.
But no, it's Madeline Pryor. That's the mom, and they actually really kind of paid that off. So I thought that was really cool.
And I didn't know if they were gonna do X-Man or not. I thought, okay, are we leading up to X-Man? Because X-Man is sick.
Yeah,
one scene I'd love to see, just totally random side note, but one scene I would love to see is there's a scene where I forget exactly why, but X-Man has to hold back an entire waterfall with his psionic powers, and that shit is hard, bro. I'd love to see that scene. A lot of scenes of people saving each other or like saving, trying to protect the humans and stuff, even though I love that the humans are using all super cheesy laser beam guns and just super comic booky, super cartoony stuff to put themselves on equal level with the X-Men and stuff.
Have to level the playing field a little bit.
Yeah. All the stuff with the UN is really cool too, where they're putting Magneto on trial, and
that was really cool. And I loved I got super excited when we saw the promotional images of Magneto in the trial of Magneto costume, where he's he got the big old M ugly costume, but just iconic, So it's just cool to just see that, I was like, oh wow, that's really cool. What
was I gonna say too? Morph. They're doing cool things with Morph, bro. Morph literally died in the first episode in the original series, so it's cool to see him do. I forget, does he come back in the original?
He comes back, and basically what they say is that Mr. Sinister, he saves his life, and then he brainwashes him. He says, oh well, since I saved your life, you're gonna work for me now.
That's right.
And uses him and manipulates him to get to Jean. Which is basically, ultimately, he used Morph to ultimately clone Jean, and that's how we got Madeline Pryor, pretty much.
Right. Yeah, they're doing cool stuff with Morph. I mean, it's real. I'm not gonna lie though. Sometimes, a couple times, I blinked. I looked back, and I was like, when the fuck did that character get here? I'm like, when did he get here? When did Angel get here? I'm like, when did Magic get here? When did I was like, wait, what did I miss? And then it's like, oh no, it's just Morph, So now I'm like, anytime it's not one of the main cast, I'm like, okay, that's Morph.
I really love that they're able to do that too, because it just allows them to, just tease and just give us different characters that we've always wanted to see, and now it's time, anytime. So it's that's really cool.
And it's you could argue it's oh, that's a little fan servicey or whatever. You already know some people are good, but it's it's fine.
Yeah, it is,
all right.
But why are you mad?
At least you're making him
see that,
At least you're making him sick, Morph. Otherwise, normally, who gives a fuck about Morph? Normally, but it's now it's Morph could turn into.
They made him 1,000 times cooler than how he was in the original show.
Yeah, and it's you might not have a reason to put Psylocke in or put again, Magic. I was seeing Magic was cool. I was like, oh
I
shit,
got hyped to see. I got hey, we got Magic in here.
You know what I'm saying? I was like, they're gonna do weird stuff. I can tell.
Oh yeah. They're going there, man. They're not afraid. One thing we didn't talk about yet was they're doing the life death storyline with Storm. In the comics, Storm loses her powers a little bit differently, but pretty much the same concept. She's trying to protect a fellow mutant, gets shot by the gun, loses her powers. For an undisclosed amount of time. We think it's gonna be permanent, and they didn't just give her powers back right away in the comics. She had to literally figure out what it was like to just be a regular person. And so I like that they're kind of doing that storyline in a similar but also different way. And also just kind of seeing her relationship with Forge and how that's gonna kind of grow and expand and do its thing. It's gonna be exciting. Forge is one of my favorite characters of all time with the X-Men. Storm is obviously goated. If you don't know about Storm, what are you doing?
Dude, Storm was sick, dude. The way they did her. Because, again, like I said, I'm like, they're all on, because there's always been oh, Goku could beat it. Anime characters are way stronger than Marvel characters. And I'm like, dude, you just haven't seen them in animated form yet. Because they're fucking sick. Dude, Storm is goated. I have
2 words for anyone that says stuff like that. Omega level. If you're dealing with Omega level individuals, Omega level mutants, all bets are off.
They're basically world busters, type stuff. They could end up fucking the world.
Especially the reality warpers.
We got Good Afternoon saying, "Who am I supposed to be?" You know what the fuck it is. Come on, don't play with me, bro. Nightcrawler gang though, Nightcrawler gang, bro. That'd be cool to see him. I don't know.
I always say if I could pick a superpower to actually have in real life, it's teleportation all day, every day. I can get wherever I want to go, like right there at the snap of a finger. Of course, I'm gonna go teleportation.
Speaking of Nightcrawler, I don't care what anybody says. Mystique and Azazel, that's his parents, bro. I don't know what they're doing with this weird shit where it's like Mystique turned into a dude.
I did not like that retcon.
What the fuck, bro? Azazel's already fucking there, and it's like Azazel's a fucking demon, and so that's why that's why Nightcrawler's like, oh no, there's definitely heaven and hell because my dad's a demon and I'm a demon. Like,
exactly, yeah.
Like what the hell?
I did not like that change. You know, they also did it's the same thing with like, you know, again we're talking about like, you know, licensing and, you know, being able to use characters. They wanted to use Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver in the Avengers movies, obviously, and they're mutants, so you can't use them. So they retconned in the comics that
right, they're not even Magneto's kids anymore.
They're not mutants. And it's like, bro, F that. They're mutants. They're still Magneto's kids in my mind. Like,
that's what I'm saying.
We're not doing that.
I'm stoked that it's like this feels like X-Men, because I'm like, even X-Men comics haven't. Last thing I think that I really enjoyed that was X-Men that was in the comics is Uncanny Avengers.
Oh yeah,
which is where after Avengers versus X-Men they had to team up. Oh yeah, and they're like, oh no, they're trying to show solidarity. So that was probably my favorite thing.
Avengers versus X-Men is probably one of the best. I'm borrowing I borrowed your book.
Oh yeah, you're good. You're good. You're good.
I read it sometimes just because it's great.
It's so good.
Very well done, and it's a dope story.
That was like I
can't wait till we get that in the MCU because I know that's coming.
That's definitely coming.
Yeah, that's a dope story.
I think that was one of the last like really good like crossover events they even did, bro. And I was like when we were in high school, so that's been days. Jim Lee's the father of the 90s X-Men. He did for X-Men what McFarlane did for Spider-Man. Absolutely, bro. I love both those cats, bro.
Yes.
Image Comics, bro, gets slept on. But hey, again, you know what other comic kept on coming up? It's Invincible. You know, so we're fucking, you know,
Yes. We gotta start doing Invincible episodes too, bro.
I know. I'm down to review the whole series because to the finale's tomorrow. Cable was X-Force, gents. I know. Come on. His first appearance was in X-Men, though. I actually have that issue. This one they're on Genosha, and they throw Storm into the thing when she's claustrophobic, bro. Yes. That's the first issue that Cable appears in. I have that.
That's facts.
That shit's tight.
You know what's cool? I just sidebar to Cable. I think it's really cool that you brought up X-Men, because you know,
because X-Men's fire.
X-Men is fire, bro.
Yeah, X-Men's tight.
There's Nate Summers. That's Cable. Then there's Nathaniel Gray. It's basically the same person, but instead his mom is Jean Grey, and his character was never really done perfectly right in the comics. So he's kind of like, he comes off as like kind of wussy, but like he technically is way more powerful than Cable because Cable has to use his powers at all time to keep his robotic arm from like taking over his body. He doesn't. X-Man does not have those restrictions, you know what I'm saying? And so he's just like, it's just straight up raw power. And so I just want to see like an actual X-Men done properly the way that they wanted to do him, but they just never really have like executed him properly in the comics. So
yeah,
I actually see it being badass.
I think Age of Apocalypse is probably where you get the best X-Men content. I like just to kind of pivot back to the show, since we're talking about Cable and X-Men and stuff too.
I could on X-Men.
No, yeah, I know. That's what I'm saying. There's a lot to dig into. You know, the way they handled them having to send Cable into the future as a baby, and Cyclops dealing with that, where he's like, I want to abandon my kid the way my dad does. You know, it made me think, because I mean, if you don't know the whole history of like Cyclops' dad and stuff, where it's like his dad like went to space and fought aliens and shit, a space pirate. And it's like hella crazy. Like I didn't know that was his origin for ever until like I was like an adult reading comics, and I was like, this is Cyclops' dad is the fucking crazy banging aliens and shit. Like
that was basically like Star-Lord.
Basically it's very similar to Star-Lord, and that tripped me out. So cool. I loved that storyline. So seeing that in the show and seeing like, you know, them give Cyclops that emotional depth is great, dude. I don't know, like that's really what the original show really prevailed in, is like the character drama and you know, the internal conflicts and stuff, and the fact that they're still, you know, it's still well written. I'm not I haven't felt at any point really like the new show is really making me cringe or anything.
Very well done right now. You can tell there's a lot of love and care, and you can tell that the people that created the show, unlike, you know, certain Star Wars
I feel like
you could tell that they really love the show and are really fans and like really like grew with the show. That shows in the writing and you know what we get, you know.
at the bare minimum, they knew there'd be a riot. So, you know, at the bare minimum, they knew there'd be a fucking riot if they fucked it up. So
absolutely. So they were very responsible with what they've been doing.
Yeah. So
I appreciate it.
It's been cool. One of the things, too, that I wanted to bring up that I personally really enjoyed is all the telepathic battles have been super comic accurate. And, you know, there's always the running joke where they're like, oh, Professor X, he's the strongest mutant. Watch. He's just like sits there and concentrates, you know. But they've really shown how trippy that a lot of that stuff can be. And I personally think I would love to see at some point, it would have to be like a series finale, to be honest, of course, because he's kind of the final boss of X-Men. But Onslaught, I think they could do Onslaught as the finale of the whole series, like. And it even kind of makes sense because it's like, you know, Professor X is dead, and then there's like, I don't know, there's like the whole like thing where it's like, oh, like Professor X was in my mind or whatever, and it's like, you know.
Do you think Professor X is actually dead?
No. No, is he gonna come back with some fucking...
He's definitely not dead.
Gonna come back with some robot legs and stomp someone out. But there's
a lot of things they can do with the X-Men, man. I think it's, you know, like, I think I'm pretty sure they have 3 seasons, like, you know.
Of the original?
No.
Planned out. Yeah.
They planned out 3. They've confirmed. They've already been confirmed, or no, they haven't been confirmed for season 2 yet. But obviously, it's gonna happen. That's already been done. That's already been written, and I guess they're kind of in the process of figuring out what season 3 is gonna be like.
Right.
I would love to see them extend this thing and just go as long as you can. Like, there's so many things you can draw from the comics, and I know you're saying you don't really like the more recent X-Men stuff. I've been really intrigued with like the Krakoan era. I would love to see a show, even if it's not this show. I want to see like them tackle Krakoa, you know, and like what's going on currently in the X-Men in a show. That would be really cool eventually. So
yeah, the karaoke night is getting started. If you can't hear that, let's see here. LMFAO, Eli checking his phone as Wolverine. Yeah, I got Reed Chaz.
You know, we don't have making sure that he's not missing any DMs from Jean Grey.
Yeah, you know what I'm saying. Yeah, what was I gonna say though? Yeah, telepathic battles was a big thing I'm enjoying. Oh yeah, I was gonna say I haven't really felt like it was like nostalgia bait, except for the most recent episode. I'm not gonna lie, because the most recent episode, spoilers alerts again. Jubilee goes, you know, she gets sucked into a video game by Mojo. And I like that they use Mojo. That's cool. Yeah. But the fact that they're in a video game and it looks like the 90s X-Men game to me, that's where it felt like it was a little bit of like nostalgia bait, where I was like, okay.
It looked like 90s X-Men. It also kind of looked like, you know, that Teenage Ninja Turtles game that they have?
Yeah.
It looks like kind of like that too. I thought that was really, really cool. Like, just like the graphics of it. Like, even like when she's doing her little special power, like it looks like an actual video game. Like,
yeah,
that was really cool.
I think it was a missed opportunity to only have Jubilee and Sunspot in there because I would, you know, that would the original X-Men arcade game is 6-player. Like, that was a whole thing. It was like, what arcade game is 6-player, you know? And so it's like, you know, that's a missed opportunity for it to be.
Well, didn't he say he'll be back though? Maybe we'll get
another one. We'll probably get a part 2, to be honest, to that.
I didn't notice certain things. Like, they only had 2. Well, they had those 2 characters, right? But then they had like a couple other options, and then there was like some characters that were like blacked out, like you couldn't see who they are, so you just have to unlock those characters. So hopefully when Mojo comes back, they'll bring it back. We'll revisit the video game world. And we'll get more characters. Hopefully. That'll be really cool.
Hopefully, man. I'm excited. I like it so far. You know, like I said, that's the only time I really felt like it was super kind of a little nostalgia baity, but it was still cool. It's still great. The animation's sick. I like it. A lot of people were kind of, you know, it's not going to look exactly the same because, you know, you have to do it differently now. You have to do it in a more cost-effective manner.
And honestly, who wants to see like that kind of like quality like from like the 90s?
You know,
of course you want to see it better, like, you know.
Yeah, and just what they're able to do. I mean, the whole just again too, the whole telepathic attack in the house too. I love that it's kind of violent. Like, it's more violent than the original. I was like, there was a part where like they freaking, I forgot who it was. They like split open that monster's head and shit. She like blew the monster's head open in half, and I was like, oh shit, it's kind of violent.
It felt like Invincible for a second.
Yeah.
Am I watching Invincible right now?
But I'm like, let's go though, because I'm like, it you know, these comics don't need to be fucking pussyfooted around, you know, like especially now it's like, you know, the comics aren't entirely fucking, you know, super PG, you know, like they're violent, you know. Wolverine loves fucking, you know, and so it's cool. And then the whole kind of Dante's Inferno part too. There's a whole comic where they did that too. So that was a cool homage where the whole landscape falls into like Dante's Inferno vibes.
Yeah.
And
one of the coolest elements of Madeline Pryor's, Goblet Queen, powers is like being able to kind of like, give you a little trippy like, experience, where you're kind of like, living out a nightmare or something.
Yeah.
Like that.
Well, and then freaking Scott superpowering Bishop up was fucking lit.
Yeah,
that was tight.
really cool.
I like the a lot of the team up, like the cross powers, like where he Gambit supercharged Wolverine's
His
claws.
And then you got the that's one of the really cool things about X-Men too, is like they always had like this different ways, creative ways in the comics to use people's powers. Like more if he turned into Blob, and then he was able to bungee jump up, and that's like very reminiscent of like one of the most iconic powers, combiners is the fastball special where you get Colossus throwing
Wolverine,
just, like with the claws. So that was really cool. It's cool to see those kind of things. Just like you said, like even Bishop, like Bishop's a super cool,
Bishop's was going ham,
super powerful
bro.
character, and a lot of people don't know how to use Bishop because they don't know. Okay, this is what his powers do. This you put him in situations where he can do that. So it's kind of cool that they're being smart about how they use all the characters.
Hell yeah. And then what else was I gonna say too? Oh yeah, another moment I liked too was a Beast hopping inside of the Sentinel and then controlling the Sentinel.
That was really cool.
That was tight.
Yeah.
I mean, overall, again, kind of to go back to the woke stuff. I have not really noticed any heavy, heavy-handed subtext.
I can pinpoint some things that I think some people might be talking about.
Because
I don't think there's a problem with it. Like Morph.
The Morph thing, they're saying Morph's non-binary,
Morph is
but
non-binary.
I'm like,
he's actually been identified as non-binary by the showrunners.
But it's like
I have no problem with that.
That makes sense.
Yeah.
Homies can transform his shapeshift. Like that's
Here's-
literally the most.
here's my
the most
question,
it can
though.
make sense.
Do you think that Morph in his relationship with Wolverine is more than just a bro relationship? Do you think that he really has feelings for Wolverine?
I don't know about that. I didn't see anything to really give me that impression, to be honest. But
I think they're kind of hinting at that a little bit because Morph could turn into
hey, Wolverine's a savage, though. You know what I'm saying? So you know,
and like it's like you can see like their relationship.
Well,
the reason why I thought that it's possible is because in that episode 3, what I was about to talk about, Wolverine he thinks Wolverine's in the shower, and he goes like he kind of like goes towards him.
Right.
And like just the dialogue, you kind of think, oh, maybe they've done this before. Like maybe like maybe like he's it seemed like it could be something there.
Maybe I don't know. I mean, maybe. I mean, it could be a time bomb before they do something really, really controversial, kind of divisive.
Yeah.
I don't.
And I don't want to talk about a certain thing that we could talk about, but like it just kind of would kind of track. I don't want to talk about anything negative about the show or like anyone.
Well, yeah. I mean, if you got what? Go ahead.
Well, just the writer.
This is ZUDECAST. Come on.
Yeah. So the show's so great. I don't want to put anything negative on the show, but basically, the writer of the show
he got fired. Yeah.
Being
a little bit of a cringe lord.
He'd be a little cringe, and so he obviously wrote the show. So I'm thinking like, yo, if you really want to go down this whole woke ladder, there's certain things you could draw from if you look at it from that perspective.
Yeah.
I don't think there's anything wrong with anything they've done in the show.
So far, no.
It has been
so far,
great.
I haven't seen anything that's like really took me out of it.
But if you really grasping, trying to grab those straws, right? That's something you can kind of point to. I guess.
I'm okay with weird shit. I love comics. I'm okay with all kinds of weird shit.
Yeah.
But as long as it just doesn't feel like heavy-handed and like it's something that feels like, as long as it feels like something that naturally occurred in its own world, even if it's woke, like I'm okay with it. But if it's something that it just totally feels like it's just injected in and to say something, that's when I think that's when most people have a problem with it. Because I mean, again, like I said, tons of people are like, oh, X-Men's woke now. Always has been. It's like that's always been the theme.
They've always talked
always
about
been the story.
these concepts that are difficult to talk about, but they've been able to kind of
And they used to go ham, bro, dude. Like some of the old X-Men comics are edgy with it because it's like
there's one God Love Man Kills. It's like a classic, iconic one where like literally like a young black kid, who's a mutant, just gets murdered in cold blood, and like it's like they were not afraid ever to really go there with certain
dude,
storylines.
there's one X-Men comic. I remember my brother was like, "What the fuck are you reading?" Because this what's it called? This girl's getting harassed, this mutant, right? And by this kid, and then she calls him the N-word, and it's like, and
they did that twice.
And then she beats his ass. She gets her ass beat over it, and it's like, it's not so fun though, is it? You know what I mean? They're not afraid to go there, and I was like, damn, I have that issue still, and it's like
there's that example, and then there's also Kitty Pryde. She says the N word too.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, she says it, but she's trying to say like, how would you like it if I called you that? Because she's talking to a black.
I think that's the issue I have. Yeah,
okay,
yeah.
It's like
exactly.
a black guy, and he's like discriminatory against mutants, and then she's like, well, okay, you're discriminating against me, and you think it's okay to do that, but what if I just said this to you, you know? And it's like, Chris Claremont wasn't afraid to say that, but obviously, you know, you can't write that down. But, you know, back in the 80s, he was trying to prove a point. Like, he's not afraid to, like, or they were never afraid to, like, talk about, like, these different controversial things.
Yeah, well, it's sick, though, you know? And, I mean, it's like, you know, you have to have, you know, that's always been the point, again, too, you know? That's kind of what it comes back to.
Yeah.
And, I mean, I think that the show's fucking sick. Like just being 5,000, you know, I'm not, you know, and I'm not, you see me, I'll rip something to shreds.
Oh, yeah.
No pun intended. I only have one claw, by the way. I don't know where my other one is, bro. I'm fucking pissed, bro. I'm fucking.
That's okay.
I'm fucking Left Eye Lopez here.
It's all good. It's all good. And you're the apocalypse, Age of Apocalypse Wolverine.
Oh, that's right. Yeah, dude.
You only have one head.
That shit's hard, bro. When he fucking, no, because then at the end of it, of Age of Apocalypse, in like one of the final battles, he fucking pulls out his fucking blades from the stub hand.
The stub,
That shit was so sick, bro. And he kills the other fool with it. That was so tight.
Was
I'd love to see Age of Apocalypse, actually. That's one storyline I'd love to see them dive into. And it's just kind of tricky because, I mean, they already are kind of there almost in a lot of ways. Like you know, that's the main point of Age of Apocalypse is that, you know, Magneto's in charge of the X-Men. Apocalypse is...
One thing to that point is that's very interesting, which I'm kind of curious what they do with this, is like the whole situation. In that timeline, Rogue and Magneto were actually married, you know? And so you're kind of seeing like the whole love triangle, you know, soap opera effect with Gambit and Rogue and Magneto right now. So what are they going to do with that? That's going to be interesting.
Right. They're probably going to have a kid.
Whoa. Yeah, that'd be... Yeah.
I was going to say, too, something else, too, that I really enjoy is Mr. Sinister is a threat again.
Yes.
He's actually scary.
Yes.
Oh, my God. I got in an argument with somebody online because they're all like, Mr. Sinister works way... Because my version of Mr. Sinister I'm used to is, again, from the 90s, Age of Apocalypse, you know, from the original cartoon. And it's like... These days he's been made into like the sassy gay uncle, and like someone even said that they're like, he works better as the sassy gay uncle, and I was like, you're tripping. Mr. Sinister is sick. Like he's scary. He's Mr. Sinister.
They didn't really know how to use him a lot, like for like a long time. They didn't know how to like, you know, have his character really come across and be respectable and be respected and be feared. Because like when I first saw Mr. Sinister, I'm not gonna lie, I was a kid scared of that guy. Like I used to see the comic and I'm like, oh my God, this guy is scary. Like, you know,
dude,
you shouldn't be scared of Sinister. Like that's what it should be, you know.
Well, and it's like he's not a mutant, but he's like modified himself and has like all these other fucking superpowers through all these other means, and it's like, you know, it's like he'll be the most evil scientist, you know, in the you know, he's like their most evil scientist enemy, you know, and it's like who's not it, you know, who is superpowered still, but I feel
that same way about Apocalypse too, because like he's definitely gotten a lot more justice over the years in the comics and like, you know, in other pieces of content. But I didn't specifically in that show. I will say that they could have done Apocalypse better. So I hope that when we do see Apocalypse, you know, even when we see him in X-Men '97, that like they do a better job of doing him too, just like they did with Sinister too. So,
yeah, hell yeah, man. Well, things are ramping up around here. I think that's probably a good spot. You got any last words to say about the show, or?
Last words.
This is how we do it. That's what I gotta say.
Yeah, this is how we do it. This is how you do X-Men '97. Just
yeah,
like how
hey, there you go.
It,
yeah,
you know?
exactly.
This is it. I'm excited for just more X-Men. Like, I've been trying to like avoid watching and reading just different things that could spoil different episodes for me because I know that it's out there.
And you love spoilers, so that means something.
That's what I'm saying. Like, there's certain things, like, you know, X-Men, the Deadpool movie. Like, I've been avoiding all that shit. Like, because I like spoilers because it's like, you know, it's not gonna ruin the experience for me. If I know what's gonna happen in these shows, it's gonna kind of ruin it for me. So like, that just lets you know how excited I am about it. So I have no complaints. They're doing a great job, and I just am excited to see what they do, you know, moving forward. Because I know it's gonna be dope. And like, you know, it's cool too because we know that when they do give us live action X-Men, it's gonna be very similar to what they're doing right now, which is a good sign.
That is a good sign.
Yes.
Hell yeah, man. Well, thank you so much, everybody who tuned into the chats. Let me see if we got any last chats here.
Appreciate that.
This is how we do it. Yeah, buddy. This ended up being a pretty long one too, so that's fun stuff. Let us know if you want to see more Zudes with reviews. Drop a like, drop a comment, drop a subscribe, and let us know what else we should review, because I'm down to bring this back. This is classic. This is a whole other spin-off segment that we are just as equally ready to rock with. So, hoo-ah, on that note, we are out of here, y'all. Hoo-ah.
Peace.